The December 27th conversation was, in my mind, an escalation of the earlier conversations. As the former acting AG indicated, there were a lot of communications that preceded that. As we got later in the month of December, the president's entreaties became more urgent. He became more adamant that we weren't doing our job. We need to step up and do our job. And he had this arsenal of allegations that he wanted to rely on. And so I felt in that conversation that was incumbent on me to make it very clear to the president what our investigations had revealed, and that we had concluded, based on actual investigations, actual witness interviews, actual reviews of documents, that these allegations simply had no merit. And I wanted to try to cut through the noise, because it was clear to us that there were a lot of people whispering in his ear, feeding him these conspiracy theories and allegations. And I felt that being very blunt in that conversation might help make it clear to the president that these allegations were simply not true.
That was former Trump Justice Department official Richard Donoghue, recounting with chilling directness then-President Trump's gradual descent into madness. Donoghue was testifying before the January 6th committee investigating the attack on the Capitol, and his descriptions of a delusional Trump offer a terrifying insight into just how far gone the former president was. Donoghue told the committee that Trump approached the Department of Justice with an arsenal of election conspiracy theories, covering the full spectrum of right-wing insanity. And Trump was determined, Donoghue said, to convince the American people that the 2020 election was stolen, even if that meant trying to seize control of the Justice Department for himself. Donoghue, to his credit, refused to humor Trump's insane fantasies. Donoghue repeatedly told Trump that his allegations of voter fraud were, in his words, simply not true. But that wasn't enough for Trump. Despite multiple Justice Department officials rejecting Trump's claims point by point, Trump refused to even consider their words. Instead, he began to believe everyone in the Justice Department was secretly plotting against him. And over time, Trump's paranoia mushroomed. After hours of pushback across multiple meetings, Trump had finally had enough. He wanted the Department of Justice to support his effort to overturn the election, and he wasn't taking no for an answer. When Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen told Trump he wouldn't lie about the election for him, Trump made his position perfectly clear. Just say it was corrupt and leave the rest up to me and the Republican congressman. For Trump and his allies, the insurrection was already underway weeks before the violence in the Capitol occurred. And now the Department of Justice reveals that they knew it too. We now know that Trump was pushing conspiracy theories largely created from Rudy Giuliani's drunken fever dreams. But Rosen and Donoghue suspected others were also feeding Trump bad information. As it turns out, they were right. Days after the January 6th insurrection, 3 Republican members of Congress rushed secret emails to the White House asking for pardons: Matt Gaetz, Mo Brooks, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And let's be clear, these fascist dopes knew what they were doing was wrong. On January 11th, Mo Brooks again requested pardons, not only for himself and Gaetz, but this time for, in his words, every congressman and senator who voted to reject the Electoral College submissions. Trump White House lawyer Eric Hirschman described the pardon requests as sweeping in their scope. Matt Gaetz, for example, asked for a pardon Hirschman described as covering from the beginning of time up until today for any and all things. And as we know now, Matt Gaetz is a man who has done many things wrong. The January 6th committee is once again giving Americans a front row seat into the unbridled despotism that defined the final days of the Trump administration. But it's the testimony of fellow Republicans pushed to the limits of their decency that really hits Republicans where it hurts. And there are growing signs that hearings like these are having a noticeable shift in how Republican voters view the insurrection. A Quinnipiac poll released on Wednesday found that nearly half of Republican voters believed the insurrection was a coordinated attack. Compare that to just a year ago, when most Republicans believed the event was a spontaneous riot. With the January 6th committee now extending their hearings into July, Republicans won't be able to outrun transparency for long. And with a growing roster of star GOP officials lining up to finally reveal the truth about Trump's war on democracy, Republicans may soon be facing something they've avoided for decades: actual accountability.